Let me quickly ask you before we go to questions about 2014 and 2016 from the Tea Party perspective. Mr. Stickland, we're going to have some competitive races, it appears, in 2014, and I wonder where the Tea Party goes in the context of competitive Republican races. Do you believe in Texas? Let's start here in Texas. Well, I'm looking at really statewide elected officials. Yeah. We don't yet know. We may know in a couple of weeks whether we're going to have a competitive race for governor. Let's just put that to the side for a second. But we appear to have a competitive race for lieutenant governor shaping up with the incumbent, Mr. Dewhurst, saying he's sure he's going to run. Mr. Staples was here last week. He's going to run. Mr. Patterson is going to run. We may have others get in that race. You recall during the Senate race, Ted Cruz, basically his entire campaign was David Dewhurst is insufficiently conservative. Do you buy, Mr. Stickland, that line of argument about the lieutenant governor? And would you today endorse a candidate other than the lieutenant governor as a proud member of the Tea Party in that race?
You next question on that one, did you?
What did you think I was going to ask? Are you going to endorse the lieutenant governor against Mr. Staples or Mr. Patterson?
Would you believe me if I told you that I've had 2, maybe 1-minute conversations with the lieutenant governor at this point?
But Mr. Stickland, obviously you pay attention. You know what happened in that Senate race. Do you believe Mr. Cruz's argument about the lieutenant governor was adequate, and do you think that there's going to be a Tea Party insurrection against the lieutenant governor?
I think what Ted Cruz ran his campaign on is what resonated with the grassroots of Texas.
Right.
I think it changed Texas politics for a very long time, what he was able to accomplish.
But you don't want to offer a point of view about whether that race in particular, as an emblem of what's going to happen in the next election cycle, is where the Tea Party will go after an incumbent.
I think that anybody that's wanting to run statewide, whether they're an incumbent or a challenger, needs to understand that the grassroots in Texas are very mobilized. Yeah. They are still connected. They are watching. I've been amazed by how many people back at home, like yesterday when we had the situation on the floor that happened, I must have gotten 20 phone calls and texts within 15 minutes of people who are watching the live house.
So people are engaged.
Absolutely.
Right.
And, you know, whether it's Governor Dewhurst or anybody else, they need to know that everybody is watching very closely.
They're on notice, is the point.
Yes, and these next couple of weeks are going to be crucial.
Mr. Toth,
for all of them.
With the bluntness that you promised, do you have a point of view about either that race or any of the races next time in terms of the Tea Party and incumbents?
I mean, it's armchair quarterbacking, and it's, you know.
Yes, but that's the most fun kind.
It is. Hindsight's 20/20. It's easy to say this, but gee, Ted Cruz ran a really good campaign, and the lieutenant governor did not. And one of the big strategic errors I think that the lieutenant governor made early on in this thing was sidestepping all of these debates that went on in small towns across Texas, Tea Party debates.
Many of them Tea Party debates.
He didn't go to any of them,
right,
and thought that the Tea Party did not matter. And the problem is that people think that they can pigeonhole what the Tea Party is.
Yep.
The best thing about the Tea Party is the worst thing about it is it's wildly disorganized.
It's a loose movement. It's a loosely organized movement, but it's not one thing.
It's not an institution. It's a movement, which means there are thousands of little Tea Parties all over the state of Texas that all have different priorities. But one thing that we all hold dear, whether you're a disenfranchised Democrat or a disenfranchised Republican, is that we want less of Washington and we want less of Austin.
So you're not prepared to come out and be specific about any one candidate. It's more the general idea, per Mr. Stickland's point, that any candidate running incumbent or challenger is on notice that this is an obligation of candidacy.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be elusive at this point. I just
Mr. Krause, the Staples campaign, I think, was hoping for an endorsement this morning. You don't want to offer a specific point of view about that race?
Oh, I heartily offer them Steve Toth's endorsement.
You do?
I have no problem doing that. Yeah.
You're sounding more like a politician every day.
You would notice I was a Ted Cruz supporter from the very beginning. I supported him. I endorsed him from the very beginning. Right. And that's because I'd gotten to know him when he was Solicitor General, came away from a meeting with him, incredibly impressed, told my wife, if he ever runs for anything, I'll support him. Right. So that's how I was able to get, as opposed to the lieutenant governor, it was okay for me. I knew that I was going to support Ted Cruz.
Right.
With Commissioner Patterson, Commissioner Staples, I don't know them as well.
So the point is, in general sense, going into 2014, you're going to be looking for similar kinds of candidates to then Solicitor General Cruz.
Absolutely.
Whether it's an incumbent or a challenger, they're going to have to uphold Tea Party principles to get your vote.
Right. And I have made one endorsement for Land Commissioner, George P. Bush. I've gotten to know him.
Is anybody else running?
No, which makes it easy.
That's very
great.
brave of you, Mr. Krause.
But I'm just saying, and he's another guy I've gotten to know and appreciate his principles and values. And so if there's somebody out there that I know that I'm comfortable with, I don't mind endorsing him at this point in that race. There's nobody there
Okay,
yet.
so 2016 presidential race, Cruz and Perry both run. Cruz or Perry?
Cruz or Perry?
Cruz or Perry, both running for president. Cruz or Perry?
Oh my gosh. J.C. Watts.
Cruz or Perry?
Cruz.
Cruz or Perry?
Cruz is one of the most impressive guys I've ever been around. I like the governor, but Ted Cruz is a rising star, and I like him.
Can I add something to
You
that,
may.
though? I'm still able to be had by Perry, depending on how this session goes.
Are you?
Yes.
You got to see how things end up.
Got to see how things end up.
Okay.